Welcome, Mr. Kwame Adu.
What's going on? What's going on?
I'm ready to jump into these questions whenever you're ready, man.
I'm ready to answer.
All right, cool. So my first one is, what does production look like for you when you are producing for yourself, typically? Like, what space do you kind of have going on? Is there like a certain like drink that you have or something? Like, what's your environment looking like when you're producing?
Well, when I'm doing any self-production, a lot of what I do tends to be in more of my intimate spaces. So in my room,
Hmm.
um, before I moved back to Los Angeles, because I was living here for some time and I spent some time in Jersey again. I was like at my mother's house. So like in my room, in my mother's house, like uh I had like my laptop had a broken speaker for a while, so I'm either
Yeah,
like in my headphones, just like it's really just me in my crib, just by myself, wherever I'm at. That usually constitutes the energy, and I might just be super locked in, like not really eating or drinking or I'm not like smoking or anything, like not no weed or anything. So um it kind of feels like a sort of practice, like it's like you go to the basketball court, you put some shots up, you put some layups up, your mid ranges. Like that's what my self production sort of plays itself out to be.
I love
Um,
that, man. I
you know,
think all you need is really yourself to kind of produce what you want. It's actually necessary to probably be alone to kind of, if you're producing for yourself, I mean, you got to be by yourself because then you get the other. It's good to get input, but for the beginning stage, I guess it probably would be pretty good to just be kind of in your own place, a
yeah,
sanctuary kind of thing.
always. And like I'm never really opposed, but I am aware that I could be pretty stubborn about certain things. So it's
Oh
like
yeah,
I never
same. Yeah.
want to, I never want to push out any ideas in the moment of the process just off of my nature too. But
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say that's intentional. Just as more so like I've noticed myself do that before, so it's just like
Well, 100%. Yeah. There's a time for the input and then there's a time for just locking in and kind of just getting it done like by yourself. You get a version done to where you're good with it to show other people, and then you can be like, all right, I'll try what you're saying, but we'll see. Like maybe that one will work. But I'm pretty stubborn with like feedback too. I was going over some of these questions yesterday with my girl actually, and she was like, I wouldn't word it like that. And I was like, I'm gonna word it like that. Like I don't care.
oh man, like that. I
Yeah,
hear you.
like yeah.
That's
It's
dope though.
hard. It's hard to not be like that. I feel like everyone's like that to some degree.
Definitely,
But yeah.
definitely.
But I actually recently watched a video essay on the backlash that the producer Ninth Wonder got when he kind of led the revolutionary of using software in like a world full of like hardware like producers. And
Yeah.
I wanted to know like what your thoughts were on that and sort of like what you use yourself like when you're producing.
Well, I use my cell phone. I work in Logic. Uh, Lots of keys. Like I play. I'm learning. Like I'm always learning more music theory. Just recently picked up a bass sometime last year. But I'll use like a MPK or like use MIDI to program a lot of my drums.
Oh yeah.
It's really fun. I think where I stand with like tools and production and instruments, I'm like not big on like I'm big on just the human aspect of things. So
Mhm.
like I'm not really big on like splice loops on a consistent level. I'm not big on like you maybe just like really calling yourself someone who's involved, but you've only done like barely anything on a beat, if at all. And I think in that conversation of just like, how music and the tools we have shift around, I know AI is a big conversation. I think that's another thing where in the music making process, um, the less human it becomes. Because I feel like using software and drum machines and stuff, there's still a human aspect that involves yourself. Like ear, not the gear. That's what people say. So
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So you're saying as long as it feels like it's coming from a place of raw like passion, like humanity, like if it's rooted in like real sound,
yeah,
like not just like robotic like loops and stuff, like You're
And
saying
then,
that it doesn't matter what you use as long as you can kind of find that.
yeah, I mean, it relies on, yeah, if we're talking about the actual constructing of the music, mind you, production and beat making are technically two different things. They just
Mhm.
haven't associate as of recent, as of like the last, few decades. But like, you know, I don't think I'm very much like, as long as you're close to keeping like the ear, as opposed to just like relying on the tool and leaning further into the tools, or like just something that you didn't make on your own, like really, like I'm pro ear. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pro.
no, I feel you, man. I definitely feel that. And you were talking about AI. I was wondering how you felt then about the kind of like AI mixing, because like a lot of times people will make a beat, do a lot of the production of the beat, and then sort of take the cop out way of like sort of just throw in an AI to like finish the job or whatever. I want to know how you felt about that and if you would ever consider using one for like any like future projects because they are actually like there's been certain instances where I've seen them work and certain instances where I've been kind of hesitant on like whether or not I would want to use one or listen to somebody who uses one.
It's cool. I think depending on the context of what it even means, like you said, like you asking about like AI in terms of mixing is like a very specific thing. Good question, by the way, just for that reason. But like, I'd like to say that, for stuff like that, I think it's cool. I think it's okay because maybe because like I find mixing to be, the 60/40, the 60 might be the technical aspect.
Yeah.
Um, but um, that 40 is still pretty high. Like it might even be like 55/45. And ultimately, I like to just mix everything like on my own by hand, not really using AI. Not because, like, only because I think it feels better. I think it feels better for me as somebody who calls himself an engineer.
Oh
And
yeah.
that natural, just sort of just listening and just tweaking on my own is something that translates to an audience, like, even in a way where, you know, a lot of the professional stuff out there can be too polished and that there can be a disconnect with the music because of that, stuff like that that people might not even really think about when they're involving themselves in the mixing process, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I would say that definitely makes sense. I would imagine that it's more creatively fulfilling to mix since you are like to already mix and master it if you had already produced and beat made. That's why I was probably assuming that you probably were against the whole like AI mix because you can hear it in
Yeah.
your there's very in the songs that you produce for yourself, there's a very like it's almost like how I felt hearing like Frank and Dank rap on like Dilla beats sometimes where it's kind of like it is made by machinery but has such a human feel to it and it's kind of undeniable like the effort and the passion that was kind of put into the project like and
Yeah.
that's a testament to you yourself and Zay.
Hey man,
Yeah.
we love it. We've been doing it for so long. Like even both like him and I, on our own, like two sides of the coast, both of America, both just been making music for so long. Like I couldn't imagine like just taking anything away from that, from the process. You know,
Yeah,
of
the
course,
project is like the process of making the project is like I would imagine probably a better feel. I mean, and the stuff that I've made probably better than even releasing it because once you've released it, it's into the ether. It doesn't mean as much, but that's what you remember is making it, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, dog.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we'll just like, I mean, even if we're talking about Kwame, like that didn't really take, you know, that long to make, or like, all those beats, like they were made on like Zay's phone, like the ones that are out, everything before all my life,
That's so dope. That's
stuff.
so cool to me. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah, bro.
Like the
So
whole like Steve Lacy producing stuff on his like iPod Touch back in
shit,
the day. I love hearing stuff just like because the Feel Me freestyle on Quam's especially on that EP, the Motherland EP is like so good, man. Like I
yeah,
love that track so much. And you can feel the spontaneity of it without like sort of without it feeling like there wasn't still a lot of effort put into it. It felt very spontaneous and complete at the same time. which is
Yeah,
rare,
that's a lot of
especially in
I give
freestyles.
a lot of that credit to Zay too, you know, like just he was the one who kind of he knows that like I'm pretty good at being a mix engineer, so he'll kind of remind me that I don't have to like tighten a lot of things up as much. Like when we were making that, like, you know, there's only like a compressor on my vocals, like just one compressor that's barely doing anything. And that's to say that like, you know, I could have went the whole way, full vocal chain, mixed down, leveling, whatever, but like it just came down to like him just being like, nah, like let's not even do that. Like let's keep it just how it is, you know.
That's
Just
awesome, man. I like I said, I love hearing stuff like that. And in a world that's so full of like new technology and stuff, it's nice to hear that there's still like, stuff from the past, not like the still sort of recent past, like the past 10 years, just people getting together and making music is the real root and cause of making the music is just get together, record something on like a phone or just anything like that. I love hearing that. But since we
yeah.
are talking about technology, I wanted to get into Shinji's album because that felt very like it's inspired by Evangelion, right? Like
Yep.
yeah, the very like futuristic kind of inspiration behind that. Like I for one think that that's one of the best anime like movie, like anime show hybrid. Like it's one of the best things I've ever seen, period, really. Like, and to hear an album about like that character was so cool. But I also wanted to know, like, were there any other inspirations, like media wise, that went into that album? Like, because it felt very much like an 80s anime, like the whole time, just instrumentally, there was references, like,
Yeah, I guess. Well, if there's anything, the thing about it is, I'll say technically there are other influences, and they kind of coincide in a way. But I think the thing about the concept of Shinji's album being that theme and the creative direction is that I made that decision maybe halfway through, like most of the songs as they kind of were done, and then I was just listening to that and recognizing the certain themes and talking about and where they paralleled, and they all ended up paralleling with Evangelion. So like it became mostly that, but the smaller things that kind of add up is like one of the songs, "Can You See the Moon," where I'm like
mhm.
singing on that Latin jazz joint. Like initially, the robot, like there's no actual robots in Evangelion, so like I'm actually referring to Gundam when I made that
Oh,
song.
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. But it just kind of it's still tied in. It's still like tied into that idea of like the mech or like the bigger body or the piloting. So technically, Gundam was another influence creatively. Um, Future Sight, you know, whatever I had chopped up was like from an era where people were really using a lot of synths in Japan. That was a chop, you know. Um, but I want to say it was mostly Evangelion. Like I'm trying to remember all the songs I had finished pretty much by then. Like Shinji itself was done. I didn't have a name for it yet, and Shinji as a title track is the reason why the album like that was like the chain reaction of thought I had.
Oh yeah.
So I was
And
like,
that's
Shinji's.
honestly one of my favorite songs that you might have ever released, man. I love that song so much.
Thank
I
you,
love
bro.
that song, man. And it also like it felt very much now that you're saying that I can see the Gundam influence and I can also I heard maybe like an Akira like not maybe not reference, but it's a song on there felt like Akira to me. In
I
like
mean,
sort of
you know,
just a futuristic kind of way like
yeah. I was gonna say, you know, it's like I come from. I'm coming from like I'm 26 right now, right? So I'm coming from just the background of like, and I've watched if I've been watching anime 20 years, like I'm always gonna be into. I'm big on like you know people know about like Cowboy Bebop and stuff, but I'm also into like Trigun. That's my favorite anime.
I have
Um,
not seen that.
Trigun is one of my favorite anime. I
I
have a
will
piercing
definitely check that.
on my ear because the main character did. It used to be a hoop. I'm gonna get it back to a hoop, but like that's like one of my favorites. Outlaw Star is another one of mine that like I really like. I haven't seen it in a while. I'm finna run that back, and the whole space, like space westerns and like post-apocalyptic super future stuff. I grew up on Gundam too, so it's like that whole futuristic synthesizer electronic sound is kind of been embedded in me. Akira, of course, too. Like I was like 8 years old when I seen Akira, so like
Yeah, same. Yeah. That's a
you
great movie,
know,
man.
yeah,
That movie
you know
was
what I mean.
like,
One of
I think that movie was the first time that they did the like motorcycle slide thing where they like stop the
yeah,
motorcycle like on the side.
yeah,
Like,
that is the Akira bike slide. So it's
yeah,
like
exactly. I saw that like you see that in every movie now. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy,
it's,
but
that's to say that when you have everything like that, like when I have everything like that in my background as an artist and like just somebody who enjoys like art and fantasy and sci-fi and stuff, like those little things are always just gonna be in my music, like especially like most of my solo stuff more than anything.
and it
Yeah,
feels more genuine because it feels like you're just kind of sharing what you consume on the like daily, like every day, just sort of like
yeah,
you're what you like to watch and do and like talk about. And that's why I
definitely.
think not only on like Shinji is the full summation of that, where I feel like there were references and stuff to it on a bunch of early stuff that you put out, including stuff like Kwame, where you say, there's a line where you say they used to call me Gohan.
Yeah,
Like that it's just like I love stuff like that, man. And it's such a those shows and movies are such a big part of everybody's life. And it's just now getting to a point where it's being referenced in music, like
yeah,
as much as it is now. Like you hear that like more. And I heard it from you first, if I'm being honest. Like in the new wave of hip hop, I have heard more anime references come after hearing that first the Mountain EP first and then the Motherland EP like back to back. I was like, there's references to stuff that I like on this.
yeah,
I
right.
feel like I'm part of this. Like,
That's so cool.
so
That's so cool. That's what I do it for. Try not to
yeah,
be too
man.
polarizing, either. Like I try not to let it be like all like I'm into anime or like
Oh yeah,
or like
yeah, yeah.
you know how it is. So I'm glad that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Well, yeah, definitely, man, because it's also references to TV, movies. You reference Curb Your Enthusiasm, like, which I don't know if you've been watching the new season, but like, it's hilarious, man.
I'm like halfway through my first like full run like front to back actually. I'm on season 5 right now.
Oh
Uh,
man, that's like where it only gets better from there. Like, it just gets better with every season, I feel like, which is so rare. But
yeah.
with so many rapper producer duo albums on the way in 2024, like there's a Mac Miller Madlib album coming out. There's a JID Metro Boomin album coming out. There's a I think Boldy James has the next batch of the final batch of Dilla beats in
Beats.
existence, and all those are coming out. Do you see yourself putting an album out like that for this next year? And if so, would you find yourself more on the production side of things or on the rapping side of the duo? Like, would you be, or would you even be interested in making that kind of thing?
Both for sure. I have some stuff I'm getting into with some homies. Like I have like if we're talking about like between like albums and EPs, like I have like multiple things like already like mostly done with a lot of homies.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah, like. Um well I don't want to say who just yet. I don't want to say who because I have a
Okay, yeah,
lot
we can keep it. We can keep it.
I have like three I have like some unconfirmed, but like probably gonna release. Like I have like three, like oh I'm a rap, and you make like my homie's producing or like my homie. Nah, I can say it. I can say it. I can say it. I
Okay,
got some
okay.
stuff. I got some stuff for like my homeboy Dree, who's like a crazy like he writes, produces, mixes, and like it was just like I have some stuff with him. So like we thinking about maybe doing something or like um every time I link up with my homeboy Keem, he goes by Keem the Cipher.
Oh yeah,
He's like
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, he's like my favorite producer pretty much like ever, like before anyone. So like me and him like got a few things together and like still want to make more stuff. This isn't really like hip hop, but I'm producing my homegirl's album of she goes by Vanessa Fleur. She's a crazy like singer, writer. She produces a little too. Like um
Now, will you be producing like an entire project of hers or just like a collection of songs or
A whole album.
oh man, so you got one of those coming up. You got
Yeah,
one of those rapper rapper producer duo albums coming out. Or is she
yeah.
making more she's
She's
not doing
singing.
hip hop, she's doing R&B
She's
like
singing. Yeah, she's doing art. She's doing like it's like electronic R&B. It's hype, but like if we're talking
that
about like
I'm excited for that.
in the realm of like rapper production, like anything, I'm never opposed. It's just it just depends on how much work you're doing, you know, because just
Mhm.
making the beats might be different than like being the producer and the engineer, but that might be different from being the producer, the mixer, and the record. Like it's all
True.
sort of different. You know, the workflow is always different. So um,
That
I'm never
does kind of
opposed, you know.
that definitely changes from like situation to situation where in like certain cases a producer will be doing most of the heavy lifting and then in other cases not so much.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, but the next big thing, you know, without saying too much, the next like bigger thing I'm doing is like mostly
Okay,
me.
dope. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Because I
So,
really enjoyed the demos that came out. The like entire Lightning album I thought was so cool with
oh yeah,
the selfish beat.
yeah. Once again, man, big credit to Zay. Like he had a vision, and that was another one of those things. Like just like Kwame, like it's a really good idea, and then we kind of like laugh about it, and then it comes up again, and it's still a good idea, and then
Oh
like
yeah.
we end up
Yeah,
just
that's how
following.
it goes.
Yeah, that was another one of those where like Zay was like, it was probably like 2022, 2021, where he's like, yeah, man, Zay executive produced, like
Yeah.
Kwame self-produced
Yeah,
album,
yeah, yeah.
you know, and we just followed through, and you know, it turned out great. I'm glad people like it. Like, you know, I didn't know what to think, like, but like I'm like, you know, just me being involved in it, of course, like, but like, you know, I love it. That's my second born, you know, so it's like, yeah,
It's so cool and like the certain beats caught me off guard, like the Selfish beat from Slum Village, which is
yeah.
produced by Kanye. Like what what was that sort of like rapping on such like a legendary like beat? Like people love that beat. I mean, it's a little bit
Well,
of a rendition of it, but what was it like kind of getting the right or like I don't even know if I'm sample snitching here if, or if like you had the rights to use the beat or something and like release it or like how did that process kind of work?
well, you know, anything. I mean, you know, it's called 2019 Selfish Remix, so that's pretty much as simple as it is. Like, that's one of my favorite. You know, that's probably one of my favorite songs, like ever. Just like in the realm of music, for sure. Maybe like my top 10.
Yeah, it's a great song.
You know,
Yeah.
even if you so like. I remember finding it 2018 or 2019, and like I just spent like 24 hours listening to it on loop. It's one of my favorite things ever. I think I resonate with that song completely. And I think at the time, because I really did make that song like 5 years ago almost. It's like I just wanted to. I might have just been in between, like in a different creative space, and I thought like I should just write, like I should just write. And I
Oh
knew
yeah.
when I wanted to do the remix, I knew when I wanted to rap on that beat that I didn't want it to just be me rapping on it. So that's why there's kind of like a structure to what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Um, and I've had that for a minute. And when it came time, that was just another one that Zay thought was like worth putting on the album.
It was
And
very well placed, I felt like on the album, like sort of up in the it was kind of front loaded in like the beginning of the album. There's like two, I think original songs, and then the beat
yeah,
on the third one is very, very like I think it's the third or fourth one on there, but it
yeah,
fits really well within the like context of the album. It's like a perfect beat and it must have been just insane to like there was a lot of love for that song like I saw like
yeah.
from fans like people really liked hearing you rap on that beat because it's a legendary beat.
Right?
I
You know,
mean,
I love hip hop, bro. So that's as much as it comes down to. And you
yeah.
know, Say does too. So he knew exactly where to put it. Like he did all the arrangements. The only thing I did in terms of that album outside of making the actual songs, the only thing I inputted was um adding that last song, okay, what else? Because I thought it just like tied in with the rest of it. And everything else was outside of making the songs, everything else was Zay's idea. And also within the song making, Kadimitsu
Oh yeah.
produced provider, you know, and He's a talented producer too. I want to just shout him out really fast. But yeah, everything else was just like we both love hip hop, so we both just know how to work. We love each other's stuff too, so he just knows how I work. I mean, that's one of my closest friends, practically my brother, my cousin. So like, he just knows how I work. I know how he works, and we just pull the better parts of each other.
It's like a perfect balance.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, besides Zay, all caps, who would be your dream like musical collaborator? You can like list a couple of names if you want. I just thought that that would be an interesting question to ask because it'd be hard for me to pick. So I hate to put you on the spot, but I had to ask.
Well, I think you know, Dream Collab is always kind of like out there for me. I've made music for so long. It's not even like I don't know if it would be called Dream Collabs at this point, like specifically, but nah, I'll say it's that still. I want to work. I would want to work with. There's this dude named Cornelius,
Hmm.
um, out of Japan. He's like 50 some years old. He's a crazy, just like musician, super crazy music. Like I probably spent the last week just only listening to his stuff.
That
Um,
name sounds familiar for sure.
yeah, he's insane. He's a freak of nature. So I probably off the top of my head him. And if I had to name one more, maybe like no, probably just him right now.
Yeah,
If I
I
had
feel
to,
you. Yeah, I was gonna
maybe,
ask in a two-parter because I felt like it'd be hard to pick just
yeah,
one. But like, if you wanted to bring in somebody who's no longer with us, you could do one who's somebody who happens to have passed who'd be a dream collaborator, and someone who's still like here with us.
maybe DJ Rashad.
Yeah,
He's
that's a good. That's a really good one. Yeah.
maybe DJ Rashad. That would be insane. Just like some dance stuff,
Oh yeah.
like a lot of just do that, like Black Sex, the stuff I be doing, like the electronic stuff I be doing.
Oh yeah, that'd be very cool. Or like the Ant songs. I like those a lot. Yeah.
Oh, hey, good looks. Yeah, thank you. Those, man, really, yeah, those are low key some of my favorites. I'd be like, oh, where was I when I made
It's
this?
so like fun. And it's like it was very much a change of pace, but in a very good way. I was like, oh, he can like do this too, because I was hearing all the like sample heavy stuff originally, and then going back into your catalog and seeing this like whole new plethora of stuff like that sounds like electronic and like it's so cool to see like he can do both. That's dope.
Man, yeah, thank you.
I was gonna ask you about some of your favorite stuff you heard in music in the past year, considering that you yourself have put out two pretty like huge projects that have been in circulation for me for a minute.
Yeah, let me see. I have my little list. I think that'll help me on my year end. Um, I was really into like, okay, I got you right here. First of all, Liv, the shorty Liv, who be singing and like producing and stuff. Her album Girl and a Half Pearl, insane to me. That was a huge favorite of mine. Her Audio Didactic by Lance Skywalker. I'm a big Lance Skywalker guy. Like
Oh
he's a
yeah, me too, man. Me
dude.
too.
He's a freakazoid.
So
He's a
good.
he's a big. So it was him. It was her. That King Krua album, Space Heavy. I was like really. I like that was a crazy just experience. I seen him live. That was crazy. Just going off for an hour and a half. Tisa
Oh, that's
Korean.
so. Oh,
Um, Tisa Korean, his album was crazy. Veda, her Breeze EP was crazy. Nyante, I was listening to a lot of Nyante. Mike, more than like always.
oh
Um,
yeah, he had the Alchemist album come out this past year, right?
yeah, with him and Wiki. Yeah, I was listening a lot to like the Burning Desire stuff, like the solo stuff for a minute. Salami Rose Joe Lewis, she's a crazy musician on Brain Feeder. She had put out an album that was crazy. Sam Fuzz album, High Tech, dance group High Tech, they're crazy. Natanya, this R&B shorty, she's crazy. Homeboy David the Tragic, he had put out
Oh
like an
yeah, yeah, yeah.
David's crazy, David's a
He
freak, and Khalil.
he did some stuff with Kenny Mason. He's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They're like
yeah.
cool.
They're very he's a good, just like he seems like a really talented guy overall. Like I think he's got his hands in a lot of different baskets, like
Dude,
yourself.
he's crazy. Yeah, same way. Yeah, same way. Writes, produces. He's same exact. Like he's crazy. He got some crazy stuff coming. Kalela's album and the remix album that she put out this year is crazy too. But like she's crazy, and then my like funny enough, like I didn't even really expect this, but on my like Spotify rap, my number one song was like "I Know" by Travis Scott off that Utopia. I'm not even like
Not a big Travis Scott guy, but yeah.
just at least yeah. If we're at least talking about that album, like I wasn't all the way tuned in, but that one song, like there's something in it, like it took me somewhere else, bro.
For me, it was the one with Tizo on it, the Modern Jam. I
Oh,
didn't
word.
like the album that much, but that song and Hyena and I Know, like those were the ones where I was like, man, these are tough. Like I cannot deny these are like really good songs.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good year for music. You know, despite what people like to say, I think it was a pretty good year for music. Yeah, I was just heavily into just like more swag stuff, more self-produced stuff. Like I listen to a lot of just like people who just like musicians, like not to denounce anything or say one thing is better than the other, but I just found myself maybe attracted to or even resonating with people who just also like produce their own stuff. Like most of those people I mentioned, they do the music themselves or like a decent amount of the time,
Oh yeah.
everyone. So it's
A
kind of just remind
musician's musician kind of
type
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Even as rappers or whatnot, like, oh wow, you really had a whole vision for yourself. Like, yeah, bro.
Well, man, I think the time is almost up. I got about 5 minutes on the recording, but I was also gonna ask you like something we briefly touched on earlier on in the set of questions, but like do you see yourself doing anything outside of music in the future, whether that's like something visually, like directing or something like that, maybe directing a music video or something like that, like being behind the scenes of that?
Oh, 200%, 200%. I've already kind of started. Like, I acted on like my homeboys at Aroy Productions. Like, I love them to death. I had a pretty good role, in their limited series Private School. So that was really cool. That was my first like bigger like acting gig.
That's
Uh,
so cool, man. I'm gonna check that out.
oh, it's well worth the watch, man. It's on like YouTube and it's on Amazon Prime, I think. Um, but yeah, definitely want to do more forms of entertainment. I think ultimately I want to work in like children's entertainment. So like just be like on some like Blues Clues type thing, like just
Dude,
guy.
that would be so sick.
Yeah,
I would turn that when I have kids, I want to turn the TV on and have it just be like you in that blue shirt with like the stripes on it and the white collar, like
you know.
talking to some kind of what would be your sidekick? Because like Blue's Clues is taken. You got to choose like another like little cartoon to be your sidekick. Which would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's got to be a cat, a robot, an alien, or an alien. Maybe a octopus or like a squid or something. Like it has.
It could be all five if you wanted it to be, because like a robot cat alien squid would actually be crazy tough. Like, and
Yeah,
that would be what I would think Kwame Adu's like little partner in crime would be on one of those shows, bro.
yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, man, I thank you again for joining me. It's like so much fun. I hope this isn't our last conversation. I hope we get to do something else.
yes, sir.
Um, Yeah, man. Let them know like any big projects that you want to announce, or if you're ready to announce anything yet, and then we can wrap it up.
Um, I guess the what I'll say right now is 2024 is going to be a really big year for me. It's going to be like I think it's going to be like I've already had some level of like breakout, whatever that might mean to somebody, and I'm still on the way up. I'm always on, we're always just going, it's always a process. It's all baby steps. I'm gonna just say that 2024 is going to be another like I'm taking another bigger step this year,
I
and
love to see it, man.
people
I
are gonna
love to
know.
see it. Because like
Uh,
2023 was a lot of music, so if you're telling me that it's anywhere close to that amount of music, I'm here for it, man. I'm
it'll be
excited.
it'll be some good stuff going on. It'll be some crazy stuff going on. You know what I mean? I might
Yeah.
even just make it out to NC. We'll see what happens.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be sick. NC would be happy to have you.
Yeah, I love it there. Got to go back.
You got to come perform here if you drop another album that you're touring for.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm filling it out. So it's gonna look good though. I think I'm like 99% sure it's gonna be a good year for music.
that's awesome, man. Thank you so much, Kwame.
Yes, sir.
All right.